Welcome to This Week Inside Sim Racing Mid-September edition. I'm Sean Cole with my good buddy,
Darren Ganji.
And This Week Inside Sim Racing is sponsored by iRacing.com, where you can get started for only $5 as a new member. And all you have to do is click on the banner at our website. Now, speaking of iRacing, they have a lot going on, or a lot coming along. And what we have here are some photos, some work-in-progress photos. And we have Interlagos here. And you can see they already have the track laid out and a few of the walls in place.
And next here is an image of Oran Park. And as you can see, this is a little bit further along and looking very detailed. And now let's switch over to some cars. We have a shot of the Lotus 49 that looks like it's coming along pretty nicely as far as the work goes.
And another car that's looking really nice or racy is the McLaren MP4, which we have a shot of as well.
And last but not least, we have a shot of Rockingham, which is one of our favorite ovals. And that's gonna be coming out, they say, right after the next build, which should be due sometime in October. And as a matter of fact, we wanted to make our special event with that track. So our next special event's gonna be in November, and we're gonna be using Rockingham, and we'll have an announcement on that coming up pretty soon.
And speaking of pretty soon, we're also going to have new prizes for this one. We already have a few lined up, but we're going to start announcing those. You know our pattern. We like to bring those along as the news builds for this. And speaking of that, we also are hoping to get a track and car deal, some kind of special for new members so they can come out and join us for this event. We'll have more on iRacing and more on our event coming up as well.
So yeah, we're going to use the K&N or iRacing National car. Which, if you're not familiar, is I think the 2009 version of the nationwide car with less horsepower, a lot of fun to drive. We did a poll to see what combo, and that car was picked the most. So,
well, it's going to be a lot of fun. This event's going to be a lot different than our last one, that's for sure.
Yeah, road was the last one. Before that was oval, so now we're back to oval. So stay tuned. Like Sean said, next show we'll tell you all about it, but start practicing with that K&N car if you already own it. Next up on the show, F1 2012 actually just came out, and the demo's been out for a couple weeks now, but we've had our hands on it for a couple weeks now. We have the Xbox 360 version and now a PC version, which is a review copy. So if you haven't seen some of those videos, go over to our other channel, check some of those out if you're interested, but you have been pumping out a lot of videos for that.
I have been pumping up a lot of videos for that, having a lot of fun with it. I gotta tell you, I see a lot of people squawking about Codemasters getting the license for F1, and with it comes all the names, cars, tracks. And I have to tell you, if somebody's going to get that license and do something with it, it has to be all about Formula One. It has to be about just those cars, tracks, drivers, paint schemes. And I think it's important that that license, I think they've done a good job with that license and maintaining Formula One and the enthusiasm for the life of Formula One.
I agree, and it's just like a Madden franchise or the NHL or NBA franchise that EA's been doing for years, or they even had NASCAR for a while. Well, this is the Formula One version, and they got to make it accessible to the masses. If they made it for the hardcore only, FIA would have dumped that license or pulled that license from them 2 years ago because they would not have sold enough copies.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're the hardcore guys and we love the hardcore stuff. But we also love stuff like this too, that caters to the masses. And again, Codemasters, I feel like we're on a soapbox for Codemasters here, but it's really to go against a lot of the negative comments we've seen on these videos. And, I'm just going to say real quick, we're not going to do a review here, but they keep stepping it up.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed what they've done, and I think they do keep inching closer to hardcore, but there's only so close that they can get and still make it accessible to those pad players.
Sure. And we're going to have a full review for that coming out fairly soon. We're not going to wait for a full patch on this one. We're just going to get in deep and give you a quick review.
We've already been getting in deep.
Yeah, we have been getting in deep.
So yeah, we're just going to get, you know what? Cody's has had 3 years.
Yeah.
So if they haven't come close to mastering this by now, they haven't changed the format that much. So yeah, it's probably going to need a patch or two because they've added, the champions mode and all these different things. But
still, like you said, it's evolved and it's ready for prime time, ready for a review. So if you want to check it out for yourself, it's actually a demo is available out on all 3 platforms for the PC through Steam and Xbox and PS3, but I'm sure you got to go to the stores there for each one of those and be able to download it. But you can try it out for yourself, and a little trick somebody clued you into, right?
I just saw it. I saw it in. It didn't include me personally. I saw it in a YouTube video or something.
I mapped all my controls and it felt pretty good. On the PC it felt really good, but at the very bottom there's that override button where you can switch between gamepad and wheel. And if you switch that to wheel, everything's going to work a lot better in the game.
Seems to be more, yeah, it seems to be, so what is it, a sim or a game?
Oh, we'll get to that in the review.
Yeah, but yeah, it seems to feel a little bit better with that wheel setting. I didn't go back and forth to really make sure, but yeah, so far it feels pretty good. I'm definitely impressed with it. So next up, RaceRoom experience. Talking about Steam, you can get it, the teaser edition at least on Steam now. But besides that, we got an interview with Diego Sartori. We have that coming up from Gamescom. Andreas Nee ran into him there, and we've got a lot about the whole RaceRoom experience there. But another situation where if you want to experience it yourself, check it out. I think this is actually the Gamescom demo, because it seems like exactly what those guys were running there at Gamescom. But go to Steam. I just went to Steam, and then in the search box under their store, typed in RaceRoom and it came up.
Right.
So it's RaceRoom Experience Teaser, it's called. And it's basically one track, one car, and allows you to check it out.
I actually went to raceroom.net and they had a little thing for download, and then it automatically turned on my Steam and downloaded it. So that was the path I took.
Yeah, you can run one car and one track in the demo, teaser edition, whatever they want to call it. And it's the Aquila CR1 sports car that's built in Denmark. We weren't actually sure if that was a real car. It looks like it's almost like a kit, but just a company that builds these sports cars. At least we're not familiar with them here, but they're built in Denmark. And the track is it's called the RaceRoom Raceway and Grand Prix layout. That's a fantasy track. That's fantasy, for sure. And pretty cool track. I really like what they've done with it.
It's a lot of fun. The demo is limited in regards to what you can adjust, but it does look and feel a lot different from what we've been used to from Simbin in the last few years. From the UI to the graphics, from the way it feels, I mean, Simbin is back, and they're back in a big way. I mean, they're back to compete against Kunos, ISI, Slightly Mad. I mean, everybody in town with this
iRacing.
iRacing.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, it's definitely a step forward. Yeah, because they were getting kind of stuck in a lull there on the Race 07 series. I mean, 07, and it's 2012 now, and they kept milking that title. So it's good to see them really take a step away from that, and back end seems very familiar.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, everything from their roots, but everything on the front end seems all brand new. And again, you can check it out yourself by logging into Steam or going to the RaceRoom website. Definitely worth checking out and seeing what they've been up to. I am impressed.
Yeah.
You know, because I didn't think they had made this big of a stride since the last one. So good job, Simbin, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing more. By the way, I saw a video on Virtual R by 6E660, and it was on how to get the ticker. I saw it in pictures, and the ticker basically shows you where you stand, your lap time stands compared to the other guys. And basically you pause the game, go into this settings screen, and then change it from all-time best to session best lap. And then all of a sudden the ticker shows up. So a little tip there, thanks to 6E660 for posting that at Virtual R. So Sean, so far my best is a 125.040.
That's moving pretty good, isn't it?
Well, I'm still about 4.5 seconds off whatever that, I don't know what that guy was doing. He must have cut somewhere on the track. But anyway, yeah, I'm about 5 seconds. What's your best lap so far?
You can't just cut, though. It's got some rules in place. I got a lot of disqualified laps.
But there's places where I know I could be cutting more.
Yeah.
Also, all the aids are on in the car. So like traction control, I believe ABS. Still feels pretty good for having all those aids turned on.
Yeah, definitely.
But so where are you?
You know, it feels really good. I really like the way it drives.
Where's your lap time?
I've only done about 10 laps. 126.3.
That's not bad.
Yeah, I got a lot more in me.
Yeah, that's in the ballpark.
But I did notice that if you cut, you get disqualified your lap, and it's
invalid.
Free. So everybody, I'm only like 1,300 on the leaderboard. I will do better though.
I got into the top 700, and I think it looks like about 13,000 people have run it so far or so. So get out there, run some laps. Post in our forums what your last lap time is. See if you can beat my 125.040. I know I can. Probably got at least another second in me there.
I'll beat mine.
I would hope so. So that's going to wrap up first half of the show. Hope you've enjoyed it so far. We got a lot coming in the second half. P-Cars, Project Cars, we talked about it in the last show and in our test drive Ferrari Racing Legends review. We've got more on that in the next half of the show. And the Mini Cooper for Game Stockcar and more, where that came from when we come back.
The T500 RS wheel and pedal set from Thrustmaster, officially licensed by Sony in Gran Turismo 5 and designed for the most die-hard racing fans. It has unmatched power and precision, it's backlash-free, and totally responsive. With this wheel and pedal set, users will go farther than ever before in their racing experience. To find out where to purchase the T500 RS, visit www.thrustmaster.com.
Welcome back to the show, and before we get things going along too far, I want to thank one of our new sponsors, NVIDIA. And if you're anything like me and you want to take your gaming to that next level with NVIDIA 3D Vision and experience the most immersive racing of your life. To find out more on how to make your system 3D ready, go to InsideSimRacing.tv and click on the NVIDIA tab and it'll take you right there.
That's right.
I've been doing this for quite a while. I'm enjoying 3D. I love when the games are 3D. Not all games are 3D yet, but they're actively working on profiles to get any new game 3D ready as well.
And I enjoy it too. I've been transitioning for that Thrustmaster event. We ran in 3D and that was a blast. So check it out if you haven't yet and you are thinking about going that route. It's definitely worth looking into. So next up, like we mentioned before the break, Project Cars. Got a chance to take a look at it, and we got a little heat from a few disgruntled Project Cars investors, and I don't even know what they invested in, or I mean as far as how much they invested, but you know, we never, I want to just say this first before we get into this little piece. We never meant to offend anybody on the Slightly Mad team or the Project Cars investor list. You know, we basically just said, look it guys, if this is what Test Drive Ferrari is all about, you got a lot of work to do and you better go back to the drawing board for Project Cars. So we got hammered for not having looked at Project Cars in its current state before making that statement, and you know what? Honestly, we probably should have.
Yeah, I think that was a fair thing to point out about us.
Them getting, you know, a couple of these guys getting so worked up over it was just ridiculous. Because again, we never meant to offend anybody on the team at Slightly Mad Studios. We just pointed out the fact that they developed that title.
And it was what it was.
And it was what it was, and it better not be that way for Project Cars or they better get back to the drawing board. So anyway, that being said, we've had a chance to take it for a test drive in its current state. And you know what I'm gonna say, first of all, it's very early.
Yeah.
Very early state. As a matter of fact, so early that we have an interview with Andy Tudor, and if you haven't seen it yet, well, hopefully, we may not even have it out yet, but we're going to have it out soon. And he says they're not even going to, they're talking Thanksgiving, Christmas of 2013.
Yeah.
So they're a long ways off, but what's cool about Project Cars is that you're able to be in on the development now and see where they're at and have a voice in it. And that's a really cool project. And what do we think of it so far? Man, they are onto something.
Yeah.
You know, it's 10 times better than Test Drive, even in its current state.
Oh yeah, in a whole bunch of different directions they have. And you know, we're not going to go into great detail or review it still because they have a long way to go. But they have a lot of different cars. Well, they have a nice variety of cars and tracks. And I mean, I've already driven the 250 shifter kart, which this thing was twitchy, it was scary fast, it sounded like a go-kart. They had a go-kart track for it, and that was a lot of fun. And I mean, you can see the diversity they're going for.
Yep.
And it's a good variety of different types of cars good variety of different types of tracks even.
Yeah.
Not all tracks even.
Yeah, some point-to-point stuff that is really cool. I really like the time trial, what do they call it? What do they call it when they're doing the hill climbs?
Oh, hill climb, yeah. Hill climb.
Hill climb, yeah, it's...
Or like a stage.
Yeah, I love like that hill climb time trial style racing. And those are a lot of fun. And man, they have a lot of detail in the tracks, in the surroundings. So a lot of work. And they're coming out with like almost a new build or some kind of update almost weekly, like every Friday. Based on that interview with Andy, it was kind of cool to hear that they want to have something out for the people testing for the weekend.
Yeah.
They figure people are working during the week and they don't have as much time to game. So every Friday they're trying to come out with something new. And it's pretty cool. Some other, just quick thoughts about what I experienced. Good force feedback feel. I just heard that they're, that they've just made some tweaks on that, so it felt really good. Sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
Graphics, again, really pretty, but I needed to do a lot of tweaking to get it to where it ran right on my system. And I expect that they haven't really maximized or made everything, compressed or condensed to run properly across all different systems. A few things, I'd like to say about it. Definitely much different than the test drive Ferrari Racing Legends and Shift as far as feel goes and stuff like that. But you can still tell that that game Shift is under the hood. And GTR2, I'm feeling GTR2 in the handling and the physics. Again, I think it needs to be optimized probably a little bit more graphically. They may be chasing drivers and stuff like that, so I'm sure that's part of it. So I don't really want to comment on frame rates and stuff like that because, it's early work in progress still.
Sure.
Graphics do look amazing. Lots of track life, both visually and feeling. Cockpits are very detailed. I don't know, Sean, what about you?
Like you said, everything graphically, it actually, if they can deliver the graphics that I'm seeing, it's just amazing. Some tracks work better than others. The cockpits have this like vibrance to them, like liveliness that is just amazing, and I really like that. Really, it's a really good approach, and we see all these new sims right now, and you see guys that are coming like, for these guys, and they're coming from more of a gaming side of things and really trying to bring more sim element to it. And we see guys like Kunos, who've always been known as the hardcore sim guys, who are kind of trying to bring a little more of this graphical edge to their sim from before. So different approaches, it seems like everybody's really focusing in on being more of a pure sim than ever before.
Some cool things we heard in the interview with Andy that I honestly didn't know. I heard rumor or I saw mention of it, but I honestly haven't been following the development closely enough. And Andreas got scolded for it, so Andy, you can scold me too, but Xbox 360 and PS3. Did you know that?
No.
Okay, so he didn't know either, but yeah, Project Cars is going to be available for both those platforms. And he did say that the PC version was always going to be a step above, and that it's going to be a boxed game. Originally they were talking about microtransaction and a free-to-play. That's not happening right now. Their plan is a boxed game, so they're probably going to charge 50, 60 bucks, whatever, and then you'll be able to get downloadable content to enhance your further, fill your game. But also they're supposedly working on a new tire model. Lots of time still, to work on that. No mention of a launch date, like I said. They said it could be earlier or later than that. It all depends on when it's ready, when they feel it's ready, and when the community feels it's ready. They're not going to release it before or after that time. So I like them saying that. I don't like hard release dates and then a million patches. I would much rather see we'll finish it when it's done.
When it's done, when it's ready.
iRacing works like that, and and I like that. It's when it's done, guys. Soon. Is one of the famous terms in sim racing development, and I'd rather have soon than a hard date and a product that needs a lot of patches.
Sure.
So if you're interested in checking out Project Cars, you can go to wmdportal.com. You become a member of the forums, and then you have to, if you want to get involved, it's like only 10 bucks or 10 euro to be a junior member and start driving Project Cars right now. And up to, depending on how much you invest, you could be a manager, or there's all sorts of different levels, but depending on how much you invest depends on how much access you get to the sim in its current state and how much you get on the tail end, like you can, you know, depending on how much you invested, your name will be in the game.
Right.
You know, versus down at the bottom level, I think you get a discount. Okay. So, very, very cool, and I like the direction these guys are going. You know, again, if you want to get involved, go to that site, you know, become an investor, and check it out for yourself.
Next up, many of you may have seen that interview with Marco Mazzaruto of Assetto Corsa from Gamescom, and if you haven't seen that interview, I would definitely check it out. We just put it out.
Our interview, by the way, with well, not ours, Andreas.
Yeah, from Gamescom, and this might be some of the first footage of any of them talking on camera, right?
I don't recall ever seeing an interview with them in our industry. So yeah, I think this is the first on-camera Kunos interview. Now, and Andreas got the exclusive.
Yeah. Now, one thing that was left out of that interview, our interview, was some of the game footage of drifting that they have built into the sim as well.
Yep, they have a drift game built in, and Marco kind of touched on some other modes that will be included in Assetto Corsa, but we wanted to share that with you. We also wanted to give a little bit of our opinion based on what we saw, and man, based on the graphics, I just kept thinking Gran Turismo 5 and Forza.
Right.
You know, it's with that, just that hue, I guess you can say.
Right.
You know, just the tone and the way things kind of looked. I also like that they're working heavily on the AI and netcode because it was definitely needed from Netcar as far as the netcode goes. It was definitely lacking in Netcar. And if it feels as good in the physics department as Ferrari Virtual Academy and Netcar Pro, then I'm sure it's going to be awesome in that category. And I'm sure it's just going to continue to get better.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the thing, like I said earlier, you have two companies kind of going opposite approaches, but when I hear things from the Netcar group like AI or game modes, drifting, things like that, you can see that they're taking it more to that gameplay type environment, just like everybody else is.
Well, they said accessible.
Yeah.
You know, they want it to be more accessible to the masses.
Or what we've always said, fun factor.
Yep. It's also cool to have that exclusive announcement. Actually, nobody really talked about it. I saw it in one of the threads. Volunga was announced, but also announced in that interview was the Pagani Zonda R, which will be a cool addition to that sim. You know, I'd like to thank Marco for taking the time with Andreas. They spent a lot of time together because I know I went through all that footage. And Andreas for doing another great job for us.
Isn't it amazing how much footage he sends us from Gamescom?
He does better than us most of the time, and he's a one-man show, and he gave me more than enough footage, which we're showing you more of it here, to cover that piece. So hopefully that technology demo is going to be out sooner than later so we can all check it out and get our opinion on it. As soon as it is available, we'll have it here on the show. And yeah. Pretty cool interview.
Very cool interview. So next up on the show, we're going to talk about the Mini Challenge DLC for Game Stockcar 2012. And anybody who already owns that title is going to be able to get that DLC for free. You can go to their download section at GameStockcar.com.
Game-Stockcar.
Thank you. That's a big deal. And there's a few mirrors there to grab it from there as well. And that's available now, so you can pick it up, or another motivation to get or check out Game Stockcar.
That's right. And if you want to race these cars, Touring Pro Series, who has their forums at our site, has started a series called the Virtual Mini Challenge, and it starts on September 29th. So if you're interested, head to our forums and go to the Virtual Mini Challenge series at the Touring Pro Series section, and we're going to put a link to that right here in the description of our show, so you don't have to go searching for it. You can just go right here in the description.
If you don't own Game Stockcar, you can get it, the Mini, all the other content that they've made for the game for only $19.95. Head to, as I mentioned earlier, game-stockcar.com, and you can check it out, or they actually have a 60-minute demo. So, I mean, our review of it was pretty favorable, but if you want to check it out, it's there for you to try out for yourself.
For 20 bucks, support Ritza and get that title. If you're a PC sim racer, it's for the PC, by the way, you have to add that title to your library. You're stupid not to.
Agreed.
Lots of great tracks, lots of great cars, and now they added the Mini Challenge. So check it out. Last up on the show, we're going to kind of wrap things up and tell you a little bit about what we got going on here at the studio, our new studios in Spokane Valley. And we've got a few DIY rigs coming up. We told you about the Faux rig by Nils Husingfeld. We also got a rig by a guy named Matthew Norcross, and it's called the SimFix. And for about $100, you can have one at your door without a seat, and we're going to show you that, and kind of reminds me of, and I got a feeling that the idea came from the Deathmobile.
Ah.
So this basically gives you everything you need to build a Deathmobile or a rig similar to it, and you just need a seat. So shipped to your door, it's going to be about $100, and we'll tell you about that coming up.
We also have our F1 2012 review that's going to be coming up that we mentioned. We have WRC3 that we're working on as well. And in addition to that, we have a bunch of the leftovers, that's not a fair way of describing it, a bunch of the other extra stuff from Gamescom 2012 with Andreas Nee.
Now you're working on a RaceRoom
interview
with Diego. I'm working on a Project Cars interview with Andy Tudor. So both of those are going to be coming out very soon. Stay tuned for those. And then I also started my undercover iRacing career, which there was a thread started by a local here up in the Northwest, Bill Johnson, and they're concerned about what that's going to be about. And it's me basically helping people getting started in iRacing. You know, helping navigate the site, showing you the stuff that you really need to read, and then getting into my first races, which I started qualifying and doing some time trials in the street stock. So, and you guys don't know, there was some speculation about my account, but no one's found it yet. And even when you do, I'm not going to tell you until I'm all done with this. So got that going. And then we also got the RaceRoom rig. We were waiting on parts. The parts have arrived. So we'll be getting on that. And then the new Revolution by Obutto is on its way here, so we're going to be reviewing that rig soon. So
getting back to your iRacing thing, just have you learned, is it a lot different from when you rookied up way back when versus now? Don't want to let too much out, but gotta know.
There's definitely a lot more to read and take in, and hopefully my video will help people, you know, go through that stuff versus, you know, one of the things I talk about is just clicking that Race Now button, and you know, and one of the things I say in this thing is, do you want to treat this like a real racing career, or do you want to treat this like a game? Because if you want to treat it like a real racing career, a real race car driver or a new race car driver just doesn't show up at the racetrack on his first day ever racing and get in a car and race against 20 other people. You know, there's testing, practice, qualifying, all that stuff that's involved in becoming a race car, training.
Right.
You know, going to a racing school, all that stuff is involved in becoming a race car driver that, you know, people take for granted when they start their iRacing career. I kind of did, you know, and I mentioned that in my piece. So yeah, it's definitely different. You know, there's the fast tracking now, which they didn't have then. Lots of different cars, tracks. So yeah, it's definitely 4 years ago is when we started our careers. So lots has changed in 4 years, and it's been fun. It's been really cool. I've really been taking my time with that alter ego. You know, even though it's not me, it's still I have not one incident yet. Three official sessions, just 2 qualifiers and a time trial, but
you're taking it seriously like a real pro career and being prepared.
And I'm treating it like that's my real car.
Right.
And if I damage it, it's coming out of my safety rating. So that's kind of the way I've been approaching it. Yeah, it's been fun.
Very cool. Also, we have our next special event coming up in November, and we'll have more to announce on that on the next This Week Inside Sim Racing. And make sure to check out our Extras channel for more F1 2012 and WRC gameplay footage. And we've also added some from Gamescom of Assetto Corsa that we didn't have there before as well.
That's right, and make sure to subscribe to that channel and our main channel that you're watching this show on. We're coming up on 30,000 subscribers, which is a pretty big milestone for us. So
that's a good-sized community.
It is. Last I checked, we were at like 29,002. So if you could help us get a little push and get us over that hump, we'd really appreciate it. So click on that subscribe button, and if you like the show, subscribe to it and you'll know when new shows come out.
Also, come to our website and join our forums for sim racing discussion at InsideSimRacing.tv/forums. And that's pretty much going to do it. So for Darren Ganji, I'm Sean Cole. We'll see you on the track.